Hey guys, this is 18.2. Welcome back to Zoo Tycoon Complete Collection. In the last part, we added the Pacific walrus and the elephant seal to the zoo. In this part, we're adding the other two marine mammals in Marine Mania. Also, you may notice there are significantly fewer animals. I got tired of the tickers showing up saying they're not happy because their tank is dirty, or they can't find food because the zookeepers don't put enough food for all the animals. They only put in enough food for however many animals there are supposed to be. At least that's my best guess, because I would watch like the short fin mako sharks get fed, and then a couple minutes later, it'd all be gone, and they hadn't all eaten. Yeah, so there's that. Well, on to business. I do not believe either. Oh no. Okay, the sea otter does want some land. So okay, I think the glass, the concrete with glass looks good. It's also what I like to see in zoos. Not necessarily specifically concrete, but I like the tempered glass windows. They look very good. Alright. Let me not do it that way. That would also finish it. Yeah. That's not the right location. Yes, I'm aware that's a terrible pun. No, I'm not going to change it. That. And... oh! Why isn't the exhibit finished? Because I forgot to add the door. Okay. And sea otters. The southern sea otter. Also known in the US as the Californian sea otter. Okay, before... I need a path there. Path. And a and a filter. Alright, now let's see what they want. They want rocks, they want foliage, they want gray stone. Oh, they want... oh, duh. Salt water. Yo. No, it's already salt water. Okay, they just want more salt water. Okay. It's fine by me. They want gray stone. Look how adorable that they run on the land. Oh, that is just great. What else do they want? Just more salt water. Yeah, I knew they didn't need much land, because, as we're going to get to, sea otters live in kelp forests, and basically to rest. I mean, they don't really need to go on land all that often at all. And it likes beach grass. I feel like everything in all terrestrial, or I guess amphibious. Yeah, amphibious, but not amphibian. Marine mania creatures like beach grass, because beach grass was added in Marine Mania, and then it's like, okay, what animals like it? Everything that we just added to the game that goes on land. Oh, hello, Blue Fang Microsoft airplane. I can't give you more foliage. I mean, I can. In fact, I know you like kelp, because you live in kelp forests. Okay, you didn't need that much more foliage. And let's grab some Atlantean. Let's grab one Atlantean undersea ruin. And the zookeeper gets assigned to you. Oh no, whale shark's very sick. Alright. Zookeeper. I know you're having trouble getting to the sea otters. But I can't. You know, whatever. I know you can't find any food. That's because the zookeeper didn't want to feed you. Urchin. That's a really nice touch. As opposed to giving them other foods, specifically giving them urchins is nice. So, a southern sea otter. The sea otter, Endangered, is the saltwater member of the otter family. The largest member of the family, Mustelidae, the sea otter is closely related to weasels, skunks, and badgers. I'm just noticing in this picture that the one sea otter is diving upside down. That is not typical otter behavior. Yes, it's iconic for them to be upside down, but that's because I'll get to that. But when they swim like any other creature, facing in a direction that allows them to use their limbs efficiently. Anyway, an adult sea otter can grow to over 4 feet long and weigh over 80 pounds. Some sea otters live over 20 years. The coat of the sea otter is 2-layered. The bottom layer is thick fur, denser than the fur of any other mammal. This undercoat has approximately 1.5 million hairs per square inch of coat. The undercoat protects the otter against hypothermia and is vital for survival. The upper layer of fur is made of sparser, longer guard hairs. Guard hairs are usually silver or white, standing out in stark contrast to the light brown or black undercoat. As sea otters age, their coats become whiter in small patches. This is known as grizzling. Sea otters are well designed for their aquatic life. Instead of rear paws, they have wide webbed flippers. Their small forepaws have retractable claws. Beneath each foreleg is a small flap of skin that serves as a pouch for food. The otter's ears and nostrils close when it dives underwater. I'm sorry, that paragraph there felt like it was a middle school animal essay. Go. Subject. Fact. 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 No explanations. No further delving. Just like... yeah. So, I'm now realizing, in addition to educating you on animals, which is the primary goal of this series, I'm also going to randomly be throwing in some little tidbits about English composition. Because while I am not a particularly good writer, there are certain things that have been drilled in enough that they poke me the wrong way. Alright, continuing. During the Miocene and Pliocene ages of history, ancestors of the sea otter lived throughout the world's oceans. Today, sea otters can only be found in the North Pacific, in coastal regions from California through Alaska, and from Russia to Japan. The sea otters are most comfortable in the water. They even sleep floating on their backs, anchored in kelp beds. However, they do often haul out on land. Slow and clumsy on the shore, they choose haul-out sites far from human habitation. Sea otters are often seen sharing rocks with harbor seals. Their brown coats blend in with the algae-covered rocks they sun on. Sea otters are carnivores, feeding on crustaceans, bivalves, mollusks, echinoderms. Okay, that one's a new one. So yeah, sea urchins are the main echinoderm they eat, and fish. Although their teeth are designed for eating hard foods, sea otters will also use rocks and shells as tools to pry their prey open. Sea otters are often at risk of predation in the water by sharks and other large carnivores, and while hauled out, by bears, coyotes, and birds. The remains of young sea otters have been found in the nests of bald eagles. Just gotta make a quick note here. In that instance, we have an endangered species hunting another endangered species. Actually, come to think of it, I think the okay, no, it's not. Okay, the great white isn't endangered, it's vulnerable. So this is the first example we've seen in the animals in the game of endangered animals eating each other. That just happens. It's not the primary threat to the sea otters. Sea otter pups are at very high risk of predation their first few weeks of life, since they don't learn to swim until 4 or 5 weeks of age. Until that time, they will often ride on their mother's chests while in the water. Even after learning to swim on their own, pups stay near their mother for another 6 months to a year. During this time, they learn to hunt and to open hard-shelled foods and slowly gain their independence. Humans may still be the sea otter's greatest enemy. Although the sea otter's status as a protected species protects against overhunting, humans still threaten the lives of these creatures. As human activities remove more of the habitats used for haul-outs, the sea otter becomes more at risk. An oil spill can kill a huge number of sea otters, since a sea otter with an oily coat will quickly die of hypothermia. Fortunately, sea otters have both mated and given birth in captivity. Humans may yet be able to make up for what they have taken from these animals. Okay, what non-human wrote this? Okay, that admittedly is just being really petty of me. I personally would, instead of putting they, put we, to emphasize that it's us, it's not just the ever-present them. So, the sea otter. Other fun facts. It's a surprisingly slow swimmer, only going 3 to 6 miles per hour. But when most of its food is more or less stationary, you don't need to be that fast. And well, we'll get to natural predators. They live to be between 10 to 15 years in the wild. They tend to live in solitary. They tend to lead a solitary life, but as Zoo Tycoon mentioned, they will group together frequently. And they are one of the endangered species. I have no idea what that in-game sound was. Weird. I mentioned they live in kelp forests, specifically in the northern Pacific and there's a sea between the Pacific and the Arctic that I keep forgetting the name of. I personally think of it as the Pacific Ocean, but technically it's a sea in between. Alright. The only predators they have in the water, any large predator any large opportunistic predator will go after them. But ones that specifically feed on otters are, of course, the great white sharks and the orcas. And unfortunately, basically all the fun facts I had were already covered by the info section. So let me go back to that one paragraph that I really disliked. So the four legs with their pouches Now, specifically, what they do is they will grab the prey and basically they have an armpit pouch, and they will put food in there, keep swimming, get more food, so that way they don't have to come up to the surface every time they catch something. Like, imagine if a sea otter had to swim down, get a clam, that's all they can carry and still swim, go up, eat the clam, go back down. They are not adapted for that. But what they can do is go, okay, grab a clam, put it in one armpit, another clam, put it on another armpit, grab a third clam, and then go up to the surface and break them all open. Now they can probably hold more than one clam. I'm just using that because I think that's a rather large bivalve that most people are familiar with that sea otters eat. I'm not sure what they do about urchin. I don't know if they put urchins in the pouch. That's something I didn't encounter. Yeah, the retractable claws are useful for digging up bivalves that basically root themselves in, like barnacles, and mussels. That's what they're called. In addition to being able to pry open a lot of prey. And they probably help with tearing apart crabs and other crustaceans. Alright. I went a little overboard there. So, it's time for the final marine mammal. Which is the West Indian manatee. Wait, no, Reminia. Again, yes, that's a reference. No, I'm not going to explain the reference. If you get the reference, let me know. Alright. Rocks, foliage, and I should do I have a general? Oh, hang on. They want seagrass. What? I fixed that. What's going on? So, seagrass. And some Atlantean ruins. And let's hire another marine specialist. Okay, before we go, oh, the eels. Right? Yep. Yep, yeah, that is a bit murky. So, the West Indian manatee says it lives in the Atlantic coast. That's almost true. The manatee, along with its close relative the dugong, are the only plant-eating marine mammals alive today. Unrelated to the cetacean family, which includes whales and dolphins, manatees are part of the family Trichecidae. Trichecidae. I think. Manatees are more closely related to aardvarks and elephants than to whales. Manatees are truly massive animals. The largest one on record was 13 feet long and weighed over 3,500 pounds. The average adult is a smaller, but still respectable, 12 feet in length and weighs 1,800 pounds. They are covered in gray, wrinkled skin, often with attached colonies of barnacles. The manatee has tiny eyes spaced far apart in its massive head, a snout ending in valved nostrils for surface breathing, and no real neck to speak of. Its long flippers end in fingernails, and its flat, broad tail is rounded like a spoon. Because they only have 6 vertebrae in their neck, manatees can't turn their head from side to side, or even look behind them without turning their entire body around. They're making it sound like turning your head around is easier than side to side. Whatever. They are usually relaxed creatures, cruising through the water at 2 to 3 miles per hour. But when frightened or upset, they can travel at 15 miles per hour for short amounts of time. They can also travel short distances by walking on their flippers. Like many land animals, manatees have a larynx which they use to vocalize chirps, squeaks, and whistles. These sounds are primarily used to maintain contact between animals, especially between mothers and calves. A manatee can stay underwater for up to 20 minutes, but must then surface to breathe. Manatees like to sleep underwater, but they can only rest half a brain at a time. The other half must take care of coming to the surface for oxygen at regular intervals. I feel like that's not accurate. As far as I'm aware, that sounds like something that would have come up in my research. Manatees resting half a brain. Because manatees prefer habitats with mild water temperatures and abundant seagrass, they return to the waters of Florida every winter, although many migrate to the south and west in the spring and summer. In Florida, they inhabit coastal waters and canals where the water is warmed by limestone springs, or more recently by power plants. While away from their Florida homes, manatees tend to travel solo or in small groups of 2 to 3. In the winters, they congregate in large numbers around the seagrass beds. Mating herds of over 20 males will form as spring approaches. Manatees eat primarily aquatic grasses. For this reason, they are nicknamed sea cows. An adult manatee can eat over 100 pounds of food per day, 10 to 15% of its body mass. All this chewing tends to wear out teeth, but manatees can replace old teeth by growing new ones as the old ones wear out. They also have stiff bristles inside their upper lips to help manage the string-like vegetation they consume. If underwater grass supplies grow short, the manatee can lift its head out of the water to browse on plants growing along the shoreline. Side note, they will also eat plants that are floating on the surface. Like many marine mammals, manatees mate in the spring. As a female prepares to mate, a group of up to 20 males will form to escort her, waiting for her choice. Unlike many cetaceans, these suitors do not fight while awaiting the female's choice. When the calves are born, they are about 4 feet long. They will spend the first year of their life with their mothers and will often continue to seek out their mothers during winters in Florida long after they have grown to adulthood. Researchers are beginning to think that manatees may be as intelligent as these cetaceans. The low brain-to-body mass ratio, once thought to be an indicator of low intelligence, may simply be due to the manatee's lack of reliance on visual perception. Manatees can be taught to come to the surface when their names are called, and have matched or outperformed dolphins on intelligence tests in captivity. These gentle giants love to play and touch. Manatees will often kiss by touching mouths in greeting when they encounter one another. Yeah, that's supposed to be another, not and other. They seek out physical contact, both with humans and each other, and play intricate games to follow the leader when not feeding. Manatees are harmless and friendly animals. Unfortunately, their affection for humans may lead to their downfall. In Florida's crowded waterways, manatees are outnumbered 500 to 1 by power boats. Often unable to hear the low-frequency noise of an approaching boat, huge numbers of manatees are routinely killed or maimed by power boats. By approaching boats to seek out human back rubs, or simply to play with anchor lines, manatees often lead themselves to their deaths. That is why they are threatened. Yeah, they tend to live in tropical and subtropical Atlantic coast. And in the wild, they will live up to 30 years if they don't ram themselves into boats. Running into motorboats is a big problem for manatees. Because they have, as mentioned, they don't see particularly well, and they can't hear the hum of the motorboat. So they don't know that there's something dangerous until it kills them. And they are very, very friendly creatures. Down in Florida, one summer I visited a couple natural limestone springs, one of which specifically is a spring where manatees routinely come in during the winter to rest. Now, because they are a threatened species, even if manatees were there, you can't swim with the manatees. As much as the manatees would like it, it's too dangerous. Let's see. That was covered. That was covered. So, you might have noticed that they didn't mention what eats manatees. That's because in most of the areas where manatees live, there are no natural predators. Now, I do have 3 species, 3 species that will eat manatees if their territories overlap. Alligators, especially around Florida. Sharks, specifically the great white, because, you know, it's kind of everywhere, so if a manatee gets too deep, great whites will eat them. And, of course, our good friend, the orca, will also eat manatees. So, that's it for marine mammals. There are a grand total of 3 animals left. One of which is a special case. And honestly, I think I'm going to save the special one for a special zoo. Does mean, as far as the marine zoo is concerned, there will be one more episode of the marine zoo, and then please leave a comment as to whether I should do, well, basically what theme should I go with? Should I add the amphibious species from Zoo Tycoon and Dinosaur Digs to this? Because I can do that as well. Well, yeah, there are 2 species there. But yeah, let me know what you think I should do next. Again, if no replies, I'll do whatever I feel like doing at the time. But for now, this has been 18.2, and do remember to like or dislike and or comment and or subscribe as the algorithm demands. But for now, this has been 18.2, and I will see you guys next time.